Mike here from Cyberfueled IT, and today I'm going to go back to the basics and walk you through how to create a bootable Windows USB drive. So I'm primarily going to focus on Windows 10 and Windows 11 as those are the latest supported versions of Windows, but this is something that's also available for Windows 7 and Windows 8, just a little bit different. So I'm always going to recommend that you have a bootable USB drive of Windows in your toolkit to have with you at all times. It's critical to have whether you're just somebody that's got a computer at home or if you're actually a tech in the field. Having these can be pretty crucial as you are either servicing machines or just having it handy. And it's relatively easy to make one of these. So you won't have to spend a lot of time making them, and there's some other methods as well. But for the most part, we're going to stick with the Microsoft method on how to do this. So you should keep this updated at least once a year as well. As new Windows releases come out and things are updated, it's easier to just update this install so you don't have to go through patching or any other types of servicing. It also gives you the latest drivers that Windows has for any new hardware that come out. And if you ever have to reinstall Windows, you've got it readily available because you can't make one of these unless you have either a second PC or you go to a friend's house and do whatever you need to do because it's going to be difficult to create a bootable device. So pretty much what you need to get started for this before we get in is a working Windows PC or laptop, a USB thumbstick. That's about 16 gigs. I think you can do 8 gigs as well, but 16, 32, 128, any one of those will work. And an active or new Windows license key for Windows 10 or Windows 11. You can still install Windows without that, but you'll need one if you're actually going to follow through. Most of the time, if you have a Microsoft account and it's registered as a Microsoft account, you'll have that key as long as you didn't change any hardware out. You should be able to just relog back in, and it'll let you back into your Windows that you have. But for the most part, that's all you need. And then we'll get into where you go to download this and how you start this process. Okay, now downloading and installing this Windows Media Creation tool is actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy to do. All you're going to do is navigate to the Microsoft.com ENUS software download link, and I'll have links down in the description where you need to go to. And basically, you'll get a window that pops up like this, which shows you Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows 8, and Windows 7. Now, Windows 10 and Windows 11 are the latest versions. Windows 8 and Windows 7 have reached end of life, so Microsoft is no longer supporting them. But for right now, you still can get those as basically ISO files, but we're going to focus on Windows 10 for right now. So go ahead and click on Windows 10. And what you're going to do is you're going to get a pop-up here where you can create Windows 10 installation media and click download now right here. So before we click download now and get into this, I'm sure there's a few people out there that are questioning, well, what about the image file? What is an image file? What is this ISO file that I've heard? And for more of you advanced users out there, this is basically what stood for an identical storage image of optical media. Basically, it's an identical copy of physical media and CDs that you had back in the day, except in a digital format. So basically, Windows 10 isn't available to download as an ISO file from this page, but it's kind of hidden out here. If you had a different computer that ran Linux or that ran a Mac, that link is actually available as an ISO download because you can use it for virtual machine installations or a whole slew of other applications that you need to use. But here, since we're on a Windows machine, Google Chrome is actually picking up our client to say that this is a Windows PC, and it's offering to download the Windows 10 installation media, which is fine. But a little trick to get around this. So you might be saying, well, you can't really download this ISO file. You actually have to run the Windows 10 media installation tool to actually get the download of the ISO. Well, that's true, but there's also a little bit of a way to do this. So if you go ahead and hit F12 on your keyboard, you're going to get this network console and elements console. It's basically the inspect. You can get the same thing if you right click and do inspect on the actual page itself. You'll get this bar that pops up on the right hand side. Might look a little bit different, but for the most part, this is what it is. And what you're going to do is you're going to hit F5 and refresh the screen, and you're going to get all this stuff that pops up. We're not going to worry about any of that. Up at the top right hand corner, there are 3 little dots. below the one for Chrome, there's inside that console, it's 3 little dots next to the gear. If you click that and go down to more tools and select network conditions, what you're going to get is a box down on the bottom that pops up next to console. So you've got console and network conditions. There's a section here called user agent. If you uncheck the use browser default and you pick, just for example, we'll use Safari-Mac and pick that agent, what we're going to do is spoof the browser to think that you are logging in from a Mac to get that ISO download. So go ahead and refresh the page. And now you're going to get a pop-up with no option to download the media installer, but you're going to get one to download a Windows 10 2023 update with a multi-edition ISO. If you click that drop down and click confirm, it's going to validate the request. You can choose the product that you want in the language. So I'm just going to do English and I'm going to confirm. Okay. Enough with the ISOs. We're going to go back to downloading the actual media agent because that's what we're looking for. So just go ahead and over here, just use browser default again, and then go ahead and hit F5, and the system's going to go ahead and bring you back to the page. You can close out that console if you followed along. If not, you can just skip ahead to this point. So what we're going to do is click on download now, and I've already got this downloaded, but when you click download now, it's going to go to wherever your downloads folder are, where that executable went. And now that we have this executable open, what you're going to see is a box here that pops up for the license and terms. Just go ahead and hit accept. And Windows is going to go ahead and get a few things ready to either download the ISO or create a media stick. Okay, you've got 2 options here. One is upgrade this PC now, or 2, create installation media. So for another PC. If you were on a older version of Windows, you could use this upgrade now if you wanted to, but for the most part, we're just going to focus on this create installation media. So you're going to click that little bubble and hit next. Then it's going to ask you the language, the architecture, and the edition. So inside of here, the checkbox is set because if it's for the computer you're using, just leave that set. It's going to automatically pick everything up. You're going to want it for the computer that you have. If it's for another computer and you're doing this from a second machine, make sure you pick the proper things. If it's an older machine, it's most likely going to, it's had to be really old. It would be 32-bit, but most of this stuff here is most likely going to be just set for English. If you've got it, languages, edition is always going to be Windows 10, and then architecture, you can do 32-bit, 64, or both. It just defaults to 64 for the most part. Go ahead and click next. And what you want to do is there is an option here to also download the ISO file if you want, but you got to run this media creation tool. It's kind of a pain to do that. The other trick works a little bit faster. And the one we want to focus on here is a USB flash drive that has 8 gigs of space. And what this is going to do is when you put in your flash drive and you hit next, it's going to format that drive, wipe it out, and install the bootable media that's needed so you can install Windows or boot to it in case you need to. In this case, I would recommend before you move forward, if you have any other thumb drives or any USB drives that are plugged in, to unplug them. What happens is if you hit next here, right now, I don't have anything plugged in, so it can't find a flash drive, which don't worry, you can rescan if you hit next and didn't plug it in. But if you have other devices that are plugged in here, you may or may not know which one you're going to use and format. So what happens is if you pick the wrong one, you're going to wipe all the data or whatever you were storing on that drive. So my recommendation is pull those drives and put the one that you're going to use in to your machine. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the drive list, and there it is. I've got one right here. This is the one I'm going to use, so I'm going to go ahead next. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to build this because it's going to do a couple of things. First, it's going to download Windows 10 or Windows 11. The same process for Windows 11 works here. So it's going to download, and this is going to depend on your internet speed. So go ahead and take 20, 30 minutes or less, depending on how fast your connection is. Go get some coffee, go do something else, step away, because it's going to take some time to download it. After it's downloaded, it will actually progress to the next stage. So we're going to go ahead and let this download, and then we'll circle back. All right. After that little intermission, your USB flash drive is now ready. You can go ahead and click on finish, and that will wrap that up. All right. Once this thing is finished and you've got it, go ahead and put it in your drawer. hold on to it. You're not going to need it today, but you might need it tomorrow. You never know what could come up. The process is exactly the same with Windows 11. So if you want to do the same exact thing, just go to the same download, go to Windows 11, and walk through that process to create this bootable drive. So that's pretty much it. That's going to do it for this pretty simple video on how to create a bootable media drive with the Microsoft utility. There are other ways of doing this using the image and using other tools such as Rufus. I'll be doing another video in the future to go over those. They're a little more in depth. There's some things you can do to the actual install itself that people like. There's things you can turn off. You can run custom commands, all sorts of things for that Rufus one to quote unquote de-bloat Windows during the install, turning off like TPM and stuff like that. But that's all we have. Be sure to like and subscribe as it greatly helps out the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.